Good evening. My name is Courtney Arroyo, and I am one of the assistant coordinators here at the Department of Emergency Management and Security. Thank you so much for joining our monthly webinar. This month, we have a great session lined up for you where we are going to talk about Virginia VOAD, which is our Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster. After a lot of the incidents that have happened last fall, we've gotten a lot of great questions about how organizations and individuals they're interested in getting involved and they want to know where to start. So we're going to bring in one of our partners to help us learn more. But before we get started, I just want to remind you guys of our theme for this year. Together we're ready, family preparedness for everyone. So we're really focusing on making those emergency plans. Just a reminder, as we're coming up in spring, we're going to see a lot of those thunderstorms coming in. So make sure that you're reviewing all of those emergency plans, especially your watches and your warnings with your family so that you guys know what to do when you're ready. And Ready Fairfax is just our county's preparedness program. We use this to go out into the community to educate individuals, whether it's community groups, individuals, kids, and we're learning how to prepare for, respond to, and recover from emergencies. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Vlad, who is, he's from Team Rubicon, but he is also the current president of the Virginia VOAD. And I'm really excited to have him here. We've been talking about doing this for a couple months, and a lot of folks, especially in our Fairfax County community, have been asking how to get involved, what their organizations can do. So I wanted to give him an opportunity to come in and tell us all of the things that we can do. So Vlad, take it away.
Thank you, Courtney. Good day, everybody. So Virginia Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster. We are a nationwide or statewide coalition of independent voluntary organizations dedicated to providing humanitarian services during one or more phases of the disaster management cycle within the Commonwealth of Virginia. I'll touch on what those phases are in a bit. We are part of a national VOAD network, and our VOAD, the Virginia VOAD, is essentially the Virginia chapter of that larger network that has both national members as well as state and regional members in our coalition. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization with over 30 member organizations currently and growing. And the types of responses in the past that we've generally have responded to have been hurricanes, floods, tornadoes, and wind events. And we are seeing other newer events coming up that are we consider non-traditional, whether it's hazard mitigation or what we had recently in the past couple of years with influx of with migrants. But currently our network covers all regions in Virginia. Next 2 slides, please. So a quick snapshot of how we respond is that we seek to build an effective and efficient response to disasters through what we call the 4 C's, and the 4 C's being communication, cooperation, coordination, and collaboration. The emphasis is that for all our organizations within our network is to be able to reach out, talk to each other, coordinate the same information, and work together to better support the community. This goal is in place so that we are rarely to never in competition with each other. Our focus is the betterment and the recovery of the community. And with that, we'll get into our member organizations. I know a lot of you, from what Courtney has mentioned to me, have a lot of questions about, so, okay, we understand the VOAD network, but who makes up the network and how do we get involved? Here's a snapshot a lot of our, or many of our current members. And the span of services ranges a great deal, but what you can do is join our or go to our website, virginiavoad.org, and there we'll have links to each and every organization. Each organization has its own specialty and their own background. Our members are comprised of, many of them are from various faith-based networks, from the Mennonites, Southern Baptists, Methodists, Buddhists, but we also have secular organizations as well. Team Rubicon, Green Cross, the ITDRC, or Information Technology Resource or Disaster Resource Coordination Center, and our Louisa Cart, which handles the animal response coordination. So here's a list of a few of our capabilities, our common capabilities within our network. Ones that we're VOADs tend to be most well known for are the initial cleanup, or as commonly referred to as mud outs or muck and guts, as well as repair and rebuild. Although those tend to be the essentially bread and butter for many of organizations, there are a plethora of different capabilities within the network. That's where you can lend support and volunteer in, from sheltering and feeding. Some of our most well-known organizations like Red Cross and Salvation Army, but there's also Operation Barbecue, Baptist General Association of Virginia, Southern Baptists, also, and Mercy Chefs, to name a few, that handle or participate in feeding, and a couple of those like American Red Cross help support sheltering. We also have newer organizations like SAMU First Response that have been very pivotal, especially in the DC area, with supporting migrants coming in the past couple of years, really lending into that sheltering support for especially DC. We also do have organizations such as the VCRN Network and Greek Cross and Zuchi Foundation that help with spiritual emotional care, Hope Assist Animals as well. And we do have organizations like the Catholic Charities that help support case management, or other organizations that help with bulk supplies and distribution. Those organizations tend to be farther south towards Lynchburg, like Cleaning for the World. And we have a national organization called Good 360 that also helps support with that as well. And then donations management, which tends to be a very common way for everyone to come and support. Mainly, the lift comes from the Adventist Community Services. At times, different United Ways also help support that. And then we also have volunteer management financial assistance. Earlier, I talked about or mentioned the 4 phases of the disaster management cycle. Here's a quick snapshot of what those 4 phases are: mitigation, preparation, response, and recovery. All organizations touch one or more of these phases. What we're most well known for is that sort of the beginning of the response phase and the longer term or short term phase of long term recovery. That's where I would best recommend, if you want to get involved in those phases, so the initial cleanup, the debris removal or debris management removal piece. If you're interested, sign up now while things are calm. Most organizations, they have some have a background check process. Others, if they are going to be spending evenings closer to the impact areas. Others that don't, who may be more into day trips. Regardless of those processes, they all have training curriculums, and the best thing to do is to sign up now, or sign up sooner rather than later. So all those prerequisites are checked off. And when the time comes, because of course, we can never plan for disasters, and Mother Nature does what Mother Nature does. You'll be best suited to be able to respond quickly versus waiting in a queue. The benefits of signing up with one of our organizations versus what we commonly refer to as spontaneous volunteer involvement is that it's easier to organize an affiliated group like within the VOAD. They would also come with training and a lot more focus on your experience as a volunteer with the organization, feeding, and if you're spending nights, coordination of overnight stays. I would say for my organization I work for, Team Rubicon, we do have a background check. We do have a few training courses to help everyone get on the same page of style or terms for communication. And we do have even additional training from what we refer to as core operations to chainsaw training and how to survey a work area prior to a team coming in to actually do the work. Other organizations have very similar regimens as well. And again, it's better to take care of all that, get acclimated, and then have your go bag ready to go when the time comes. And but these other organizations, let's say, can't necessarily go out into the field. These organizations do have other ways of getting involved in the disaster management cycle. Some help give educational sessions in preparation. Others participate in sort of lower stress and more controlled environments like hazard mitigation, where we pre-plan events well in advance, and we're able to have a much more controlled environment. And then the long-term recovery piece as well. We do have organizations that, like the Baptist General Association of Virginia, United Methodist, World Renew, and more, that focus on the rebuilding piece, helping now that everything's been cleaned up by a group of organizations. These long-term recovery organizations now come in to help rebuild homes, either repair or rebuild from the ground up to get the community back on its feet. So there's a place for everybody on the bus. And again, the best thing to do is to go into our website, look for an organization that speaks most to you, whether it's through capability or through background, whether it's you're driven by something that's more faith-based, or you're looking for an organization that speaks to you on more of a secular level. But we do have a bunch of organizations that touch on various aspects of the disaster recovery process. Now, how does VOAD get activated? I always throw this in here because, common question after someone signs up for one of our organizations is, okay, I signed up. When do I go? Do I go whenever I see a disaster in the news cycle? All our organizations work closely with emergency management. Like for ourselves here, we'll work closely with Courtney. In other counties, we work with different county emergency managers or directly with the Virginia Department of Emergency Management to help further that 4 C's piece that we talked about. We coordinate with local government to be able to come in when the time is right. So if it was a massive flooding event, we don't want to get in the way of the first responders who are in the middle of doing life safety work. We try to get in right after they're done and after the work has been identified and assessed in case it qualifies for any potential federal funding for the recovery. So through that coordination piece, that's also a benefit of volunteering with one of our organizations versus waiting for something to happen and then try to drive down many people who try to show up on scene unintentionally become unintentionally interfere with the recovery process, whether it's they're potentially getting in the way of first responders, or we accidentally do some recovery work in an area that has not been assessed and recorded, which may cost those homeowners money as far as not getting potential federal or state funding back to them for disaster recovery. Again, we work very closely to coordinate everything to make the most impact for what we do. But and so what occurs is we will work with those emergency managers. When an emergency manager has the need, they'll reach out to our network or organizations individually with a request for support. And that's when each organization has its own mobilization process, but that's when their mobilization processes will start spinning up, and you as a volunteer will then receive information on how to get involved. So it may appear when looking through the lens of the media that we're coming in not exactly immediately on scene, but we're coming in at a time where we'll make the most impact for recovery. To learn more about us and our members, again, www.virginiavoad.org is the website where we house links for all of our members and some additional information on a little bit on each of their capabilities. All their capabilities do span that wide breadth of different niches. Whether you want to get involved in the computer and tech side, getting Wi-Fi and communications back up with ITDRC, doing chainsaw work with Team Rubicon, helping with feeding with Mercy Chefs, or helping with sheltering with American Red Cross, or helping a little bit more niche needs like what SAMU does with refugees. There is a place. There's a place on the bus for everybody. I encourage you to go in, check out each of the organizations, see where you like to fit. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at president@virginiavoad.org. The president's or the executive leadership for the Virginia VOAD does rotate by term, but president will always be there, so that if when my term does finish, there will be another president, and they'll be monitoring that same email address. Thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you, Vlad. And it's really important, and I think Vlad touched on this a little bit, it's really important to be affiliated with an organization or have that deployment ready to go, because having spontaneous volunteers during an emergency or that short term after an emergency where we're trying to do recovery, that can almost be a second disaster for local emergency managers and folks that are on the ground trying to coordinate. If we have people that are unorganized, just showing up wanting to help, that takes away resources from that local jurisdiction to then have to figure out what to do with the people that are now there to help, where to house them, where to feed them, and do all of that. So the more that we can do on the front end to connect with those organizations, the better the response is for everyone. So you'll continue to see some information from our department throughout the year on volunteer opportunities. We also have within Fairfax County our volunteer emergency team, and that is just a group of people who have signed up in our volunteer management system who are ready in case there ever is a disaster and we need to activate volunteers who are already affiliated with our organization. So if you have any interest in doing that, you can visit our website and sign up for that. We also have a volunteer corps, and our volunteer corps does help us in a lot of different ways with going out into the community, doing tabling events, doing presentations throughout the year. But if you're really looking to deploy during a disaster or looking to go out and make a bigger footprint, I would definitely suggest getting affiliated with one of our VOAD partners to be able to do that. So that kind of sums that up. I just wanted to remind everyone we are still accepting requests for this year. This is just a brief overview of some of the workshops that we offer. So we can come out, we can also do these virtually, whatever works best for your schedule. I did want to highlight that in April, we are going to be hosting a Unified Response Day, and this is for individuals with disabilities and access and functional needs and their families to come out in a safe space and interact with our first responders and some community organizations that serve individuals with disabilities. So you'll have opportunities to interact with our police department and do some practice traffic stops. You'll be able to come in and go into an ambulance and kind of see what it's like in a safe space when there's no emergency. We will also have our 911 call center that has their 911 simulator, so people can practice calling 911 in a safe, neutral environment. We'll also be helping people sign up for Fairfax Alerts and Community Connect, as well as our emergency health profile. So there'll be a lot of great things happening that day. And it is going to be at our Fire and Rescue Academy. So again, another great opportunity to see where our first responders train and what they do. So that'll be April 26th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And there'll be more information on the website and our social media. And again, I just mentioned these resources, but resident resources, make sure you're signed up for emergency alerts so that you can get those traffic alerts, those weather alerts, emergency alerts, and that's how our newsletter also goes out. Community Connect and our emergency health profile, you can sign up for those systems to give first responders additional information so that they have everything they need to know about you while they're on their way to that call. And then follow us on social media. We are at Ready Fairfax on X, Facebook, and Instagram. And we, do a lot of different posts. We are currently in a drought. We are seeing a lot of outside fires, a lot of coordination with the fire department to let people know. We do have a burn ban in effect that we have been publicizing on social media from midnight to 4 p.m. So make sure that you are kind of following those local burn bans, and that information will continue to update on social media as anything evolves about that. But if you do see an outside fire, make sure you report it right away and take all those proper precautions. And what's up next? So we have our next webinar in May. It'll be May 7th. So we hope you will join us there. And in the meantime, that's all we have for you for April, but we look forward to seeing you out in the community. We have a lot of great community events coming up that we will be at. And then we have our Unified Response Day in April as well. So we hope that you guys have a good April, and we'll see you in May.